focus. All right, before I get into it, I wanted to show this guy's tweet because it almost sounds like he's trolling. It's just you guys kind of being honest about the situation, which is a little bit sad, and maybe it's time to rethink your position on CG. Like maybe everything, the people who told you about CG are maybe they've been shading the truth. Maybe they've been a little biased. I'm not saying everything they say is a material misrepresentation of reality, but everyone has a bias. There's two sides to every story. So perhaps take a little gander at the other side. Anyway, click the links to comment, subscribe, go to Odysee, BitChute, or buy a pour working coffee, or join the channel and get a shiny little icon. So Pat Zircher and a bunch of other guys have got their knives out for Comicsgate, and one of their spurging tweets is 43 likes. Good going there, guys. Is a Comicsgate a hat group? First of all, why do they judge all members of Comicsgate by the actions of some? It's weird that they wouldn't do it to any other group, but they feel entirely comfortable doing it to any group that opposes them slightly whatsoever in any way, shape, or form. The people in mainstream comics have sexually harassed and assaulted both men and women. They have a lot of rotten apples in it, and it seems like it's been wormy for a very long time. And it's like we're just seeing how evil these people are thanks to social media. The weirdest thing is they keep comparing Comicsgate to the Rebels and the Germans. I'm sure that, those are both cool groups, and I'm not judging them, but they actually dropped bodies. Comicsgate is not dropping bodies. People on Twitter are the most overdramatic group of whiners I have ever come across. And, really, why do they care about Comicsgate? Something is going on where Pat Zircher and Fabian Niesi are just kvetching nonstop, on Twitter about Comicsgate. Pat Zircher really seems to hate the beautiful people of the light, which I don't understand at all. I don't know I don't know what his background is, but either it's self-hatred, which is just pathetic, really, really pathetic, or if he's something else, then he's actually legitimately racist. Yes, the left are the racist the whole time. The joke has always been that the left are the real fashionable ones, the brown shirts, the authoritarians. They don't want to treat people equally and to value diversity of thought. The left-wingers are a hateful, seething mass of scorpions and snakes, and they seem to conflate a lot of things about diverse, and one group is all white. Well, they're not white. Some are English, some are Irish, Russians, French, German, Spanish, Portuguese, Greek, Italian. You get the idea. They are diverse to themselves. They are what they are. It's not for you to label them as one group of people, and they're not diverse because you don't recognize the Irish and English as sufficiently different from each other. But most of them do. If you're on the side of the group that covers their faces and attacks Christians in a public park, that they have a permit for it, then you're the bad guys. The left is on the side of Drag Story Hour, cutting up and giving hormones to children, permanently sterilizing children, turning them into catamites for Epstein-Weinstein types, and deleting babies. That makes the left wing the bad guys. These comics guides, they're proudly Antifa. They proudly support burning small businesses, or Haber Grosskreutz Rosenbaum attacking a kid. Is there anyone on the left who doesn't diddle kids or support those who do? Modern day globalists are it's like communism, but even cringier because everyone is in drag. Pat Zircher spurred out on Twitter, which they've been doing more and more of this lately for some reason. And maybe I think the Substack thing has them a little bit worried, but they seem to be, instead of taking it out on Substack, they seem to take it on Comicsgate. They're very careful around Substack. Or maybe it's a combination of Comicsgate has been out for 3 years now. There are hundreds of Comicsgate books actually delivered, put in people's hands. They paid money and they got their product. It's not a grift if you get what you paid for. It's not a fluke. It's working. There are even a few campaigns over $100,000 That one time, that would have been unusual. There are people who are doing comics as a very solid part-time gig, and a few who are using it as their full-time job. And the hysterical thing is Patch calls Comicsgate some hateful group, repeatedly yelling into the sky at what a hateful group this other group is. It's like, maybe look at yourself a little bit, read your own tweets is what I'm saying. But then he went on this PMS-fueled tweet thread about how much he hates Comicsgate. The interesting thing is he got owned in the comments. Here's why. Comicsgate is growing. The mainstream is shrinking. This is just math. Over time, Comicsgate will become more widely accepted to the point where, mark my words, this is my prediction, where anti-Comicsgate now, guys who are now, are going to go back and delete their old tweets and say that they always kept an open mind. Which is, it's fine. Do what you got to do. At first they hated Comicsgate, now they hate Comicsgate and Substack, but they're more cautious around Substack because I think they get the feeling the Substack is inevitable. Comicsgate is also inevitable. Comicsgate is what? Less than 1% of the market. It's tiny. But 3 years ago it was 1/100th of a percent, and then it's 1/10th of 1%. Now it's 1% or even more than 1%. You see where it's going. Because at some point, if you want to do comics is more than like a break-even hobby where you just make enough money to cover your costs, you got to sell the product and you got to sell yourself, and it means you got to human, and SJWs don't human well. And you're going to learn that misandry and anti-white hatred is not a big seller. None of these people, these blue check mark idiots, should care about Comicsgate at all. They should be so busy with their own stuff that Comicsgate shouldn't even be on their radar, but they're not busy. For some reason, they have a lot of free time, which, when Joe Glass and Mags Essies are not begging for money, which is really weird. Why aren't they busy making stories that people want to buy? Why isn't their stuff in demand? They love writing trans dinosaur, burqa, prawn, blonde man, bad comics, but yet they spend all day on Twitter calling people Japanese from the 1940s. And let's be honest here, if their stuff was in demand, they wouldn't be worried about Comicsgate and Substack, but they are very worried about them. Maybe they should touch grass, my guy. Oh, my dude, oh, my guy, why are you so pressed? If you read the same phrase 1,000 times, maybe it's time to retire that phrase as trite, hackneyed, and overused. Maybe, kind of writing 101 rules. The Twitter commie kids or adults who are children in all but body focus on ad hominems, and they don't actually address the situation. They just immediately the things they love commenting on your race and that your sexual status as an incel. It's like, wait a minute. Slut shaming was problematic for you, but someone who's chaste and virtuous is not. Whatever. It's like you have no dogma at all, do you? Like everything is hypocrisy to you because you don't believe in anything. They literally believe in nothing. It's just they're just like a sailboat without a rudder. Ron Marz has his comic on Zoop, and overall Zoop has got stuff that is funding. Some one of the things hit $45,000 for a comic, which is very decent for your first thing out. But Ron Marz's comic, I forget what it's called already. Resolutions on Kickstarter. I think it raised $25,000. His other Zoop comic raised $22,000. Congratulations on your breastless fuzzbumper comic. $22,000 is not good for an established name. So I have a question for Ron Marz and all the other chads in the mainstream. The broad-shouldered Mark Waid. Literally a 300-pound sack of donuts. Why don't people buy your stuff? Mark Waid's Ignited should have been a hit. It was a bunch of POCs attacking the beautiful people of the light. In Arizona, it was set in Arizona, and all the bad guys were blonde-haired, blue-eyed in Arizona, which, in case you're not familiar with Arizona, it's basically northern Mexico. You're going to be hard-pressed to find anyone with blonde-haired, blue-eyed. But in Mark Waid, and I forget who he did that with. The guy, he's on Twitter. You see I forget, he's named after a Christmas tree or Christmas holiday or something. He did a comic with him, and then he later fired the guy. So it's like just Mark Waid just doing Ignited all on his own. But it didn't sell. So, hey, Mark Waid is going back to DC. It doesn't matter. Whatever he does is going to be anti-white hatred. If Comicsgate really didn't matter, they wouldn't be talking about it. You know it, I know it, and they know it, which is weird. Let's get this guy up here. Is weird that there's like very little self-awareness with these folks. Comicsgate will win over the long haul because we can network on YouTube. A lot of the early shows were just pooping on SJWs, which is a lot of fun, and they totally deserve it because they are lol cows. They're advocating for things that either they know won't be successful and will cause great human suffering, or they're purposely obtuse on it by not doing the research. And gee, you want to actually talk to people who actually came out of like Russia and Poland and East Germany? Nope, don't want to talk to them. Don't want to talk to... You know, I've got family who went into gulags. A guy wrote a book about his experience under the Bolsheviks. You want to talk to him, read the book maybe? Nope, it'll work this time if the right people are in charge. Anyway, the SJWs are going to have a hard time networking. Maybe they can go to BreadTube or something because they hate each other. Like, they really fundamentally hate each other. They're scared of each other, especially around anyone with a slightly darker skin tone than them or someone who's above them on the hierarchy ladder. They are terrified of those people. And pooping is really only funny when it's mostly against SJWs because they control 99% of the pop culture. In terms of punching up or down, the left wing defends these billion-dollar companies and attacks tiny little Comicsgate. We are 100% of us marginalized and oppressed people of colors with colors. The mainstream comics are the brown shirts. We are awesome free thinkers. Don't be Pat Zircher, be Cecil. He has a comic called Cash Grab. As a joke, but not really a joke. It did over $250,000. That's because it's fun, and he's fun, and Comicsgate is fun. And these people aren't fun at all. Okay, I also get the feeling that this guy is spending a lot of time following CG. I don't even know what he's working on, if he's like wildly successful, whatever he's writing. Because the mainstream comics are just sort of fading to me and to a lot of other people. They're fading from memories because... it's not like it used to be. Oh, there used to be some diamonds in the rough. There's not anymore. It's just crap. It's just anti-white, anti-male hatred, like flat out on the face of it. These people are the most racist people on earth, and nobody ever stops to look at them and go, "Okay, you're racist against all these European people, but if they weren't available as your target, you would just pick another group." Like, you know it, I know it. Like, these people are that's at their core. They just hate. And the media has given them a target where they can hate. They're allowed to hate this one group, so they're just getting it out on them. It's like, but they don't... Like, you're saying you hate every Irish person? You hate every Russian? You hate every German? Every Swedish person? That doesn't... What did they do? Are they liable for some harm that someone else caused any more than one African is liable for the actions of another African, or a Chinese for a Chinese? It doesn't make any sense. That's not causally connected. In North Korea, you get punished a generation up and a generation down for your malfeasance. Are you saying you want to punish people without causation, without due process in America? Is that your argument? Because it never ends. Literally, everyone on Earth is spiderweb connected to every other human on Earth. Unless you're talking about, well, there's some tribe in South America somewhere. But you get what I'm saying. It's like it doesn't make sense if you start cutting off due process and go right to witch hunts and lynch mobs and witch trials. It's like, okay, that's you're just saying you want a mob with guns to you just want, like, not even a third world nation, you want like a fourth world failed state with warlords, because that's what you're advocating for. Okay, the video's over, but I still want to go through some of these tweets because they're freaking awesome. So this guy says he found somebody who was using the CG tagline, so then he got offended and didn't back the project or whatever. And the guy says, I don't get it. Last week you didn't know. Now you do know. What has actually changed? Yeah, that's a good point. If they're doing anything like you're saying, oh, this one guy has done something that you have issue with, okay, well, don't back their product. But if it just means they use a hashtag, that's an insane way. It's like everyone who uses the BLM hashtag would also going to be entered into a blacklist universe. Like you would accept that rationale for taking one part and extrapolating it to the whole. In every group, you're going to have people you agree with and people you vehemently disagree with, and there's going to be weirdos in every group. Now, CG has a lot less weirdos than the mainstream comics, except we don't have control of the narrative. They have control of the narrative. All right, this guy brings up a good point. He says, it's a shame that the liberals aren't throwing money at non-CG creators like the CG crowds are willing to do to own the libs. I mean, look at the Trump crowd fundraising. They're being fleeced for hundreds of millions. All right, well, bring in a little bit non sequitur there. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. But CG, yeah, this is an interesting point. Why aren't they buying your product, and why are they buying CG's products? Listen, CG's been around for a few generations. People have got the first generation of comics. Mostly they were good. So they got the second generation, third and fourth generations. They're more good than bad. They're getting what they paid for, and they seem to be enjoying it because they're buying the sequels. Nobody's getting fleeced here. Then the guy asks, why am I not getting support for his comic on Kickstarter? The guy says, we have no interest in backing Kickstarter. He says, why? Well, I don't know. Maybe just I'm not welcome by Kickstarter because I'm blocked by Jamila, who then locked down her account because she couldn't stand a little criticism. Yeah, at first I was trying to keep an open mind to Kickstarter. I look at Kickstarter and I'm like, no, forget it. Spite is a powerful marketing tool. Fair enough. There's a great thing with outrage marketing, but there's nothing wrong with that to get something rolling. But you got to realize CG's been around for over 3 years. That may have got the ball rolling with Mark Waid and Jawbreakers, but they got the final product, and you literally had Kelly Sue DeConnick saying, if you don't like my politics, don't buy my books. It's like done and done. Done and done. No problem. No problem. Kelly Sue DeConnick, in case you don't know, she's like the Queen Karen. When you've beaten all the other Karens, you face her. Nobody's buying CG books to own the libs. You got that backwards. They're anti-CG books on Kickstarter. Deadbeats, I guess it's not really an anti-CG book. It's just kind of an answer to CG a little bit. They're using a little bit of that marketing, but there are a few anti-CG books like the Punch Nazis books. And it's like, okay, gonna do a Punch Commies book, and they're not doing that well. CG books are, CG is made possible because the industry threw away the customers. Here's a CG supporter, Starlight Cats by gosh, he's on YouTube, and I forget the guy's name. Okay, and this is just asinine. How does this work? If it makes you feel better, CG is the same handful of people cycling the same money around and around and make it look like they're successful. How does that work? Can you explain the math of that? Just a handful of people with extra money throwing it back and forth. CG is like, in total, like all the CG crowd and the people loosely associated with CG, including like Doug TenNapel and that kind of stuff, it's like over $5 million. This is nonsense. They just continue to get owned over and over again in the comments, which is interesting because it's increasing more. Yeah. Why aren't you throwing money at us? You can't have it both ways. Yeah, indeed. Where are your supporters? The true comics fans. You're not getting a whole lot of support here. Here's the thing: is the CG crowd, it is growing slowly, but the anti-CG crowd is shrinking. Is more accurate to say, because they're looking at CG and Substack and they're going like, okay, there's something wrong with the mainstream if these guys have been around for 3 years. And you've got people who, my favorite example is Clint Stoker and Downcast, because the first was like 30,000, the second 40,000. It slowly ebbs its way up. And it's like, so you hate Clint Stoker. What exactly has he done? What exactly has he done to you? Oh, well, he's got the hashtag. Okay, but what, like, the whole group is guilty because you don't like one guy in it, or you don't like a percentage of the people in it? Like, you can apply that to any group, and it's nonsense either way. Yeah, manga and CG don't demonize their readers if they don't like a product. That's about it. They get owned over and over again in the comments. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, guys. I will see you all. Yeah, she's hard to take. She's a piece of work. She's on YouTube if you want to find her video. Kelly Sue DeConnick, if you don't like my politics. It's friggin' hysterical. Anyway, join the channel, get a little icon, and I will see you guys all next episode.